What's hilarious about the true Sonic 4 is, you never hear anybody treat Advance 2 like it's Sonic the Hedgehog 5. Welcome everybody to Deep Dive Zone, the Sonic review series for fans of all shapes and sizes. I'm your host Devin, joined as always by Lorne and Bruce. And guys, this is my least favorite Sonic Advance game.
I think this might be my
Agreed.
least favorite Sonic game so far.
Ooh, harsh.
Like a game to triumph over Sonic 2 on the Game Gear?
3D Blast already triumphed over that.
Oh, I didn't know you'd chosen between those two.
It was a hard choice, but I think 3D Blast was the even more frustrating experience.
Man,
But this
Advance 2 hurt you that much.
this game hurt me a lot. It almost drove me to drinking.
Yikes.
I say that partially joking. I want to make that very clear.
You are holding a bottle of
I would
alcohol
hope
right
so.
now, though.
Yes, I have a bottle. This sounds disgusting. It is a bottle of mixed 70% Simply Spiked Lemonade and Dr. Pepper.
You're right, that does sound gross. I
It is surprisingly not gross, though.
feel like those two tastes don't go together. But also, I don't know anything
That's what
about
I
drinks,
expected.
so
That's what I expected, but they surprisingly work.
I'll have to take your word for it. In the
Yeah, you
meantime,
don't have to drink it.
Sonic Advance 2. So I got this game after Advance 1 and 3 as a kid, and that may be part of the reason that it's my least favorite, but there's still other reasons. This game is very different from the first one, in ways that you won't expect when just looking at it.
Bottomless pits.
We'll get to the bottomless
Wait,
pits.
way to cut to the chase. Yes, they really wanted to differentiate it, and that they did.
Yeah, they did.
Not just more of the same.
Yeah.
Well, we start off in a pretty similar place, though. I'd say we don't really have a story for this game. We don't even have an intro cutscene of Eggman stealing an emerald. The most we have plot wise in this game is that Eggman has kidnapped some lady that we don't quite know yet, and also Sonic's friends. I guess I don't know. Which
Yeah, why
It's
is he
not
have
just revealed, though, except maybe in the manual, but not in the game until you see it.
which leads me
That's
into my
true.
first criticism of this game, which is that all of Sonic's friends are kidnapped, which means
Yeah.
you have to unlock the other characters. Why would you do that?
Yeah,
That
that is
is-
really
That
that
is
is
so
really stupid.
That's like why I always liked the older Sonic platformers that had multiple characters, because you could play whatever's your favorite. You could play
Sure.
at whatever difficulty level you're comfortable with. But no, this game, only Sonic to start at least.
Well, and it doesn't make any sense, because, like, in Adventure 1, it kind of makes sense that you need to unlock the other stories, because not everything makes sense if you don't have the full context.
Right.
But in this game, the same characters go through the same stages, and they all play the same, well, roughly the same as in Advance 1. There's some differences. It's just a weird decision.
Yeah, not a fan.
We start off
Yeah.
with Leaf Forest Zone, which is actually a pretty good starting level, and it shows a lot
Yeah.
of the ways that the game has changed. Starting with the fact that Sonic is unbelievably fast in this game. This is the
Yeah.
fastest 2D Sonic game so
It's
far.
kind of insane it coming right off of Advance 1, which is fast, but not like ridiculously fast. This game is like almost insanely fast.
This game wanted to make sure that you could just keep moving if you're good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Enough anyway, without having to wait for anything, really. They emphasize it right off the bat with this really tacky intro that's done for every single stage in the game, where some metal kick pad comes up and then Sonic kicks off of it to start running.
Yeah.
I don't know what the fuck that thing is. It moves like a motor, but it doesn't do anything.
I just hate it because it takes me out of the... I mean, I'm not saying Sonic games are super immersive a lot of the time, but I immediately am like, oh, okay, this is happening here because reasons in any zone anywhere.
Boy,
And
Mega Man.
That combined with the fact that there's also a runway at the end of every single stage makes me think that the game all just a show or something. Like, this isn't actually happening.
Oh, it's like Mario
very
3.
strange. Yeah, it gave me that kind of a vibe.
I hadn't thought about that, but that is a legitimate question.
I mean, I was thinking more like the end of stage minigames in Kirby, but I do see what you're saying. And I mean, the stages themselves are all built to fling you across as many springs, loops,
Yes.
rails, and boosters as possible. And when that stuff is all in alignment with each other, it can be really fun. It can be just
Oh, yeah.
pure speed and platforming. And there's not a ton of like explicit stage gimmicks here, and pretty basic badniks too. It's like you don't get anything as defined as like secret base zone here. It's like Leaf Forest and Hot Crater, the second stage, feel pretty similar to play.
Certainly the first two are very similar. I mean, it's literally, I was surprised when I was first playing this game, but I was like, is it literally just hold right and win? Like, that was all it took for the first few stages.
Yeah.
Um,
It's
it,
kind of a bad case of just hold right and win.
it's like this, I guess this is where it started. I don't know. But yeah, it's an interesting choice. So really, yeah, I only have like the aesthetic and music to talk about, which, is good. Leaf Forest is interesting because it tried to be like not just another green hill, I think, kind of, because it looks quite artificial despite being a forest.
It's like a Sonic
Again,
Lost World stage. It's really weird.
yeah,
Huh.
it actually kind of fits with what we were talking about earlier because it looks almost like they're just like cardboard props or something.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
I do love the music of this stage. It fits the very high tempo of the gameplay. It's energetic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Good beat to start on. I guess I did also laugh when the designers were looking and they're like, huh, how do we make loops different? I know. Big loop.
Make them fucking huge.
They are enormous.
So there are some differences with Sonic. His somersault goes the whole way now, for example.
Hmm.
And he
Don't know
also
why it's in the game.
well, speaking of things I don't know why they're in the game, the somersault can get you up some hills occasionally. I don't know what the hell
Oh.
the bounce attack is for in this game.
There's a bounce attack?
Yeah, if you jump and press B, Sonic does the bounce attack, and it kills your momentum and doesn't do anything special. I have no idea what the point is. You can only do it like
What?
one at a time. It doesn't give you height.
Oh,
These games that they don't tell you about.
We'll get to that.
yeah,
too.
we'll get to that soon.
Well, there's one big one that you need to do to finish the game.
But the bounce attack, there are springs of some sort later in the game that don't spring you very high, but if you bounce on them, they'll spring you higher. That's what it's for.
Okay, I
Hmm.
guess I just
Okay.
straight up didn't notice those.
Wait,
And
are those the blue ones?
Yes.
You don't even have to bounce attack on them. You just bounce on them multiple times and they bounce you higher.
Well, if you bounce attack on them, they also bounce you higher immediately. So I guess
makes
it's
sense, yeah.
optional,
I
but
guess so, yeah.
it does something if you do that.
well, and speaking of things you might not notice, it's like I had to tell Bruce about the R button tricks, which we'll get to those in a second.
Yes.
Hmm.
One thing I did not mention to either of you guys because I forgot about it is that Sonic's Insta Shield is an Insta Shield normally and against bosses. If you use it against regular enemies, it's a fucking homing attack.
What?
Oh,
That would have
huh.
been great to know.
Interesting. I did not know that one even now.
It
That
sounds
would have
like
been
it would
fucking
be.
awesome to know.
It sounds like it would be, right? It's not, because
Oh.
the homing attack in this game, instead of locking onto an enemy and sending you in a straight line toward it, it mostly just, like, flings you at the enemy and doesn't actually care whether you hit it or not.
Well, never mind. I might have known that.
Alright then. Well, yeah,
I
I'm
thought it
glad
was
I
a
didn't know
perfect
that.
homing.
Yeah,
I'm glad I
it's-
didn't know that.
It's worse than the Sonic Rush homing attack. It's not good.
Oh, okay.
But yes,
Uh.
the final thing you need to know is that if you go off a spring or a launcher and you press a direction and the R button, Sonic has little special tricks he can do. Which sounds fine. Except, there are going to be parts of the level design that mandate using these tricks, which means if you don't know about it, you're gonna get fucked.
Yeah, this is ridiculous. I literally didn't know what I was doing wrong when I first played this game. It is actually possible to beat the game without using any tricks, but you have to take the right paths. And
Of
so I was
course.
just like, I guess I'll just avoid that path. Death trap, I suppose. Odd design choice.
Yeah.
But no, that's not actually what it is. You can do different kinds of tricks by holding different directional keys. I had hit the R button once and saw Sonic spin around. I'm like, oh, cool. But the way more important one is when you use R and up and he gains a little height.
Yeah.
And I was saying, like, as a kid, I think I figured these out because somebody bumped my arm. I don't think that's true. I think I figured these out because I played Sonic Rush Adventure, which definitely does tutorialize them, and which it would have been
Uh-huh.
extremely easy for this game to do that even just like in a title screen demo or something, but it doesn't.
I'm sure it was in the manual, which we don't have.
Of
Yeah,
course.
the number of Game Boy Advance games that I had new as a child is less than 10, maybe even less than 5.
I feel like most people got their GBA games used.
It's not like they came in durable cases anyway.
Right, they came in cardboard boxes.
Well, that was the
Never
case for
liked that.
most Nintendo games up until the GameCube, I guess.
Yeah, Nintendo didn't ship any of their games in like plastic cases until the GameCube.
That's why like new still sealed like N64 games are super expensive.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
But in any case, we're levying all these complaints of the trick system, and we're not even at the point of the game where you need it yet. So, first boss of the game is yet another egg hammer, and it is not that hard, but it does set a rather horrifying precedent for the rest of the bosses, which
What,
is
that
that
they're auto runners?
every boss in this game is a running boss that you have to chase
Yeah.
down to get hits on.
Yeah, it's great.
So, I talked about how it was interesting in Sonic Adventure 2 when there was an Infinite Runner boss, but I forgot how terrible Infinite Runner bosses can be if they're done, like, horribly. I mean, with,
Yeah.
like, the Sonic versus Shadow fight, it doesn't really matter that much. You're just holding forward to not die, but in this, you're fighting against the auto scroll. You don't have to move forward to survive. The game just makes you move forward, but you can't go too far forward, or else you can't go any farther forward, and then you'll have to decelerate. And so it's constantly being yanked back and forth between by a rubber band, and it feels horrible because you have to just get it perfectly in the middle, and then the whole time, of course, the boss is trying to hit you with some stupid thing. So it's just a terrible time. It's a terrible time.
Well, so for me, it's like, that stuff is bad, but that's almost like being trapped in a boss room with just like a conveyor belt moving under you, which I guess is one of the Sonic CD bosses. And it's like,
I never really had that
That's-
much love for that boss either.
Yeah.
that's annoying, but the important difference is that if you get hit in that boss, you can pick up your rings, which you cannot do in Advance 2 because they get blown off screen almost immediately. And each arena only cycles a set number of rings, so you will run out if you're not careful.
Yeah, I didn't realize that until like I think the third or fourth boss.
It's like they make them running bosses in order to, get some of that speedy Sonic spirit, but they forget that the entire reason that the rings work the way they do is because it keeps the pace up.
Yeah, this doesn't keep up the pace because there's no goal. It's not about the running. The running is just a stupid mechanic now. It doesn't feel good to... Because you can't even let loose. As I said, if you try to go too fast, that's going to kill you. So it doesn't work. It's not a positive at all. And I can't believe that this threw me off to enough of a degree that, like, the first boss, it wasn't that bad. But it did make me a little annoyed the first time playing it. I'm like, wow, what the heck? That was a weird first boss. Well, okay, good. I'm over it. Until all of them are like that. Well, almost. Almost all of them are like that.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
We talk a lot about prospective re-releases and updates and mods and such. And I think, these bosses are always going to be annoying, but
Sure.
I think that if a future re-release just made my rings bounce around the arena and hit the sides of the screen instead of going off it, I wouldn't be that angry at it.
Yeah,
It
that's
would
fair.
It would still not be great boss design, but I wouldn't feel
Sure.
cheated.
Sure,
Just redo the bosses at that point.
Maybe.
I guess. Yeah.
But the whole way through, this boss is holding somebody, and that is a little tiny baby child named Cream the Rabbit, who you save when you defeat the boss. She is a polite young girl who is looking for her mother, who is in trouble, whatever that means. Maybe the manual explains, maybe it doesn't. I don't know.
I just assumed Eggman had kidnapped her mother.
Well, yeah,
We'll
because
get to that.
Unlike Sonic, we're master detectives. We can find out who the real culprit is instantly. But it surprised me to get like an actual cutscene here.
Yeah, that was kind of cool. I enjoyed that.
Well, it has
It
nice
would be
pixel
cooler
art,
if
so.
no, the art is nice. I agree with that wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
The art is nice, but like it's just weird because like they're saying nothing of consequence. It's just like, oh, what a polite young lady. Okay, well I got to keep running anyway. See ya. Like,
shouldn't
there's
you
nothing
want
that
to help her?
happens here.
I mean, I guess Sonic is like, hey, maybe I'll be able to help her on the way. I don't know.
Or,
Yeah,
if
he
Eggman
does,
has...
because that's just how it
Right.
happens. You run forward and you
Right.
save the day.
If Eggman has captured Vanilla, which is Cream's mom's name, they're all dairy themed. Wouldn't you tell Sonic that, since she Does she know who Sonic is? Does she acknowledge him as a hero? I don't remember.
I don't think she
It's not
does.
really stated, but I would have to guess probably not.
Well, whether she
I
knows him or not, the fact that he saved her, you should ask him for help.
Yeah, I would. I'm surprised she didn't ask him for help.
I think she tries to, but he runs off too quickly.
Oh well.
Oh, you know
Okay.
what? Maybe the auto scroller is still active during the cutscene.
That's gotta be it. Way to integrate gameplay into story. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
It's funny because Sonic runs off, and then Cream is like, she gets determined. She's like, well, I'm gonna go save her if you're not. And then we get gifted with one of the most hilarious things in this game, so I think the designers knew that the bosses in this game were absolute garbage because they decided we have Tails for the easy mode, but no. We need like a toddler to be able to beat this game. So
need
we
an
must
easier
bring in
mode.
Cream, who in of herself works basically like Tails. You know, she can flap her ears around and fly.
Right.
But she is accompanied by Cheese, the absolute god of destruction that will follow Cream's every command. This thing will just destroy every single boss in seconds. Like, it's absurd.
Yes, you press the B button, he homes in on the boss, and he hits it, and then you do it again. You can just hang at the back the whole time. Cream is the best goddamn playable character in this game. She was the only one I ever beat it with as a kid. And, like, what's her trade-off? She flies higher than Tails, but not as fast, and, like, that's it. So
I'd
it's
rather
like,
have flying higher.
yeah, no, you play this game as Cream, the problems just disappear. It feels like the game is
Right.
made for her.
I mean,
That's fascinating.
kind of. I can see that for the stages, because that avoids bottomless pits, which we haven't gotten to yet.
Yeah.
But it basically is a skip for the bosses. It's not a fix.
Yeah.
If you want to like this game, you play it as Cream.
Right, sure. I'll agree with that.
And yeah, it's stupid that you need to use... Because it's not only that you have to play through the game to unlock characters. That's bad. You have to do it specifically as Sonic. You don't unlock anybody if you play as anybody else.
Right.
I feel like the point of alternates is to give players options. You say, oh, Cream's
Sure.
easy mode. Well, what can the easy mode do if it can't even show you the other modes? Then you have to go back to the harder mode.
Mhm.
You have to unlock all the modes with hard mode. That's
Yeah.
a strange choice.
And spoiler alert, they have not heavily revolutionized these characters. Tails and Knuckles are still basically the same as Advance 1.
Right.
Oh yeah, they're not that much different. It's weird because we talked about Sonic Adventure, and that does let you unlock any character with any character. But then
Sure.
I didn't do that here, so
Yeah.
no more defenses. Sonic
And
Advance 2.
technically, I think Sonic 06 does too, but there's only 3 stories in that game, so it's not really a big deal. But actually, I guess since we're talking about it, might as well mention, if you can believe this, Amy Rose is in this game. But you don't ever see her.
She was the one character I didn't unlock.
Yes, they gave her enhanced speed. She can spin jump and roll, and has a sort of super peel out that you can chain into a roll, so it's basically a spin dash. But God forbid the
Interesting.
developers actually let you play as her. For some
Yeah.
reason, in order to unlock Amy in this game, you have to beat the game with all 7 emeralds, with every other character.
Okay, you've given me license to launch into my Chaos Emerald rant right now. We're
Yeah,
not
sure,
at
go
True
ahead.
Area 53 yet, but by golly, now is the time to talk about it. Somebody really thought, you know what everyone loves about Sonic games? Special stages, yeah. So how about we give every single character a set of Chaos Emeralds, like you said, so the player has to collect 35 Chaos Emeralds to 100% the game. Surely players will love that. And it's just the same special stages over and over. Like, they'll just love them so much. They'll just want to do them a million times over. And then the designers thought, oh, wow, okay, great. Genius idea. Problem. Now that we have multiple sets of Chaos Emeralds, we need individual rewards for getting each. Yeah. Okay. So, I know. We'll redesign Amy Rose, make her an actually fun character, and then we'll lock her behind 27 of the Chaos Emeralds.
Jesus
No,
Christ.
28 of the Chaos Emeralds. Great. Good. But before you get there, okay. So, you know what was another great feature? The tiny Chow Garden. I know. We'll lock that behind a set of Chaos Emeralds so that many children who only have Advanced 2 will never experience the simple joys of mobile Chow on the GBA. Such a tragedy.
Do you need all the
but
emeralds
it's
with
delicious.
Amy? Is that what she unlocks?
Getting all the emeralds with Amy gives you nothing, which
Oh, okay.
you would definitely expect because getting all the emeralds with every other character gives you something, but not Amy. And it's the last set because you have to unlock her right before. So you get all the emeralds with Amy that gives like, ha, you wasted your time. Loser. Maybe you just really like special stages. It was a reward in of itself, even though you've already done all the special stages 4 times already. Yeah, that's the prank set of Chaos Emeralds. I don't even know why Amy can collect the Chaos Emeralds. It's so weird. There's no point. Because it gets worse. It gets worse. So, special stages, right? Right. So, special stages are just always terrible, except if it's blue spheres, then they're good. But otherwise, they're always terrible. And they decided, we got to make it worse. I know. It's always a hunt to get into a special stage before you can even play them, right? So let's just make it like an absolute expedition. In order to get into a special stage, you have to collect all 7 special rings hidden inside of an act, which requires a highly specific route throughout the stage, which basically means hours of trial and error or looking up a guide. Of course, I looked up a guide. Yes, I went through all this. This is why I'm talking about this. And you have to collect all those and then complete the act without dying once to get a single attempt at a special stage. You fail, you do it again, loser. You don't deserve it.
Now, in fairness...
What the heck?
In fairness, the special stages in this game are piss easy.
They're not difficult, I agree. But if you are playing this game and you can't train on them, you can still mess up. I didn't get them all in the first go. It didn't take that long. But,
But the fact that it takes that to get into them, yeah.
And, and it's the fact of the matter more there. So, yeah, that's, like... This is the worst Emerald collection, at least so far, that you have to go through. I haven't played every single game where you have to collect Chaos Emeralds in special stages, but this is ridiculous.
Yeah, I don't think it gets worse than this.
Now, I will say, being forced to replay the stages over and over to get the special rings, surprisingly, does actually make me appreciate them more. We're kind of doing this backwards, but spoilers, I don't like most of these stages. But when you're forced to play them over and over and you actually figure out the layout, we talked earlier about how this game has great speed to it, and the problem is just when you don't know and then you fall in a pit and you die because you didn't know it was there. But if you've done it 4 times already, more than that most likely, you had to beat the game at first, initially at least, then the 5th time, you're actually like, well, this is just like muscle memory at this point, and it's actually kind of satisfying to go through. Believe it or not, I was actually kind of having a good time at the end with I appreciated the stage a little bit. I wasn't having a good time having to do the special stages over and over, because they're easy, but they're still, I don't want to do them.
Well, it's getting monotonous after a while. But
these stages have some merit to them if you just know what to expect, but they don't telegraph the hazards is the problem. So that is an interesting bonus, I guess, when you're collecting the emeralds, is you'll probably see the stages in a different way. But don't do it. This is stupid. This is absurd. Who decides you have to collect the emeralds that many times? It's ridiculous.
Okay.
Normally do it once.
Post-it notes for Advanced Trilogy re-release. Make every character unlocked from the start.
Right.
Paste some fucking wooden planks over some of these bottomless pits, I guess. Which we haven't even gotten to the stages, but we'll get to it. Make the special rings not all required, or in fact, turn the special rings into giant Sonic 3 rings and have each of them lead you to the special stage. That's what makes sense.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah.
And give us Super Sonic and normal gameplay, not just a final boss.
Right.
Yeah.
And then it would be okay. It would be the Sonic Advance game with dumb boss fights, and that's it.
Yeah.
Christ. So, okay. Second stage. We're done with stage 1, fucking half an hour in.
That's fine.
Second stage, Hot Crater. More of the same, to be honest. We have a volcano aesthetic.
Hot Crater wasn't as bad, because it went by really fast for me.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
fine.
yeah. It's over in like 2 seconds.
Yeah, it really wasn't too bad.
It's like there's I don't know, some sort of factory or something at a volcano. I'm not sure what's going on there exactly, but it's an interesting design to it. It's got rad music, of course.
Yeah, it's got cool music.
There's even like a heat effect in the background, which is a nice little touch.
And is hilarious.
That's a cool touch.
Because like we were saying, stage gimmicks and hazards are pretty low in this game. I don't think there's any actual lava or fire to touch in this level.
Nope, it's just bottomless pits.
Yep, that's what I think about when I go to a volcano. Oh, I better not fall into the void.
Oh
Yeah.
god, if bottomless pits existed in real life, I'd be terrified.
There are some pretty deep ones.
Yeah, but there's no bottomless pits.
I feel like if you're falling into a pit that's long enough to kill you, the amount of fall isn't.
The difference is whether you die sooner or later.
I guess, but
I
I'd
guess I
still
don't want
consider
to
that
die
a
of
bottomed pit.
starvation while falling.
Right, exactly.
I guess, yeah. That would have to be a pretty long fall.
Spy Kids 2 ass motherfucker. Anyway, um, yeah, Hawk Raider is fine.
Yeah,
Very little to say about it.
yeah.
The boss, I would say, it's still not that bad yet. It's annoying, but it's a tank that launches bouncing bombs. And
It was kind of annoying.
what's interesting about this boss is that the first phase is harder than the second one.
Yeah.
Because, like with Advance 1, every boss has a pinch mode where they get faster. But in the case of this one, you start off hitting the barrel of the gun, which tilts up and down and fires at intervals that are such that it's never quite at the same angle, the bounces at least. So you can't always predict. When you get it to phase 2, it fires faster, but it just fires directly out of the body, which means you can
it basically
damage the
just
body,
plops them down.
and it's always a set arc, so it's
Yeah.
way easier to predict.
It really is.
I think it fires faster, which is supposed to be the harder part, but yeah, no, it definitely,
Mhm.
it actually gets easier. This is my least hated of the Infinite Runner bosses.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Well, Stage 3. Stage 3 is perhaps, I would say, one of the more remembered from this game because it is certainly the most unique. It is Music Plant, a giant landscape made entirely out of musical instruments. And that is an amazing idea for a level, honestly.
It is. I just wish it had better music.
Thank you. Okay. I'm glad it wasn't just me. I was
Yeah.
about to say, what's wrong? Why is there bad music in my Sonic game?
Not only that, the stage that's themed around music.
Right?
It should have better music. This is super underwhelming music.
Yeah, it just gets on my nerves for some reason.
Yeah.
Quite repetitive, really.
I'm not the only one who thought that.
I mean, I didn't have an extremely negative experience with it. It's not my favorite or anything, but it's...
Also, I can't
I
say
get
I had
this-
like a super negative experience. I was just disappointed.
Yeah, I guess it's... I think it's the flute solo that doesn't sound very good through the GBA sound chip as part of it.
Well, yeah, the GBA
Yeah, the
sound
high
chip.
pitch notes are not
The
great.
GBA
either.
sound chip is a big issue, and that's an issue for the entire library, though.
Yeah.
I agree. The design is quite unique, though.
Yeah, it's a cool. It's a cool
visually.
design. I like the idea. It reminds me of it's a track from Mario Kart 7 that I really like. I don't remember what it's called though.
Oh, I know what you're
But it's
talking
the same.
about.
It's the same idea. I think it's an 8 as well.
Yeah.
It's one of my. It's one. I actually don't remember if I actually like that stage or not. But I've always liked its aesthetic.
Yeah, that's the one where you, like, drift on piano keys and it plays
Yeah.
them.
Yeah, that's
Um,
cool. That was really cool in Mario Kart 7, and it's cool here because I think the same thing happens when you bounce on the piano keys.
Yeah, they don't play different notes, though.
No,
but-
they play the same note, but that's still pretty cool.
Yeah, and this is the stage that easily feels like it has the most work put into making it unique in terms of gameplay. 'Cause
Yeah,
you get spring-styled, like, hi-hats, you have brass zoom tubes, you get blown around
Right.
by flutes, and yeah, you have the piano bouncers and such.
yeah.
Well, because I feel like when they were thinking about gimmicks, they weren't thinking differently about the gimmicks for a lot of the game. And so for
Fair.
the gimmicks in the other stages, you can run past them and ignore them pretty much. But these gimmicks actually work with the increased speed because when you run, then you bounce because you're suddenly on bouncy
Right.
terrain. And so you don't just miss it.
Yeah.
So credit where credit is due is a distinctly feeling stage for sure. I don't know that I'm a fan though of those holes you fall in, and then there's like a hot second, and then they throw you out awkwardly into the air, and if you're not careful, you just fall right back down into them. I don't know what's up with those.
That was kind of annoying.
Yeah, I don't love the flute bits.
I also wasn't. I'm not a fan of the name, also, but that's because I kept misreading it as Music Planet.
That would almost make more sense. What is a music plant? What does it produce? How does this exist within Sonic's world?
Well, yeah, I
Well-
was wondering what the heck is this place?
I feel like is this where Eggman makes his music? Is Eggman a musician?
Eggman makes music.
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
Eggman.
This
maybe.
is- No, here's what it is. This is where the background music for the Sonic franchise is produced in-universe.
Ah.
And the reason that its music track is not that good is that it's like that old puzzle with the two barbers, with one with a bad haircut and one with a good haircut. They have to have it produced by the other side, who's not as good.
Interesting.
Okay, interesting. Yes, indeed.
But yeah, unique stage. I didn't. There were maybe a little bit more bottomless pits, but not
It's not
excessive.
too egregious yet.
Yeah.
No,
We're
yeah.
still at like advanced one levels for the most part. So, fun level. Same cannot be said for the boss, which this is the one that for the first one that really pisses me off.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen this kind of thing before, but not while I'm stuck in infinite runner mode, so infinitely worse because of that.
It launches spinning discs with spikes on the sides that you have to
Oh yeah.
platform off of to hit it, but they also have projectile guns on the top and bottom, which you can
Yeah.
collide with, which you can destroy, but it means that you're more likely to either get shot or run into them on your way up.
Mm-hmm.
At least it does have the odd effect of the boss actually becomes easier later on, similar to the one right before it, because you just destroy
Right.
the guns on it. But
Yeah, I mean the
yeah,
pinch mode is just it's just faster, right?
which honestly isn't much of a problem because I'm just waiting for the platforms to come up most of the time anyway.
I feel like I could deal with platforming up the boss or with dodging bullets, but both at once is too much. It's just busy, you
No,
know?
it's not
Yeah.
great at first for when the boss is at its strongest. Yeah, no, it's pretty annoying.
We've spared enough words on not liking the bosses. We'll talk about the ways in each one is bad,
They
but it's
don't
like,
feel all that different because there's still the one thing that is always the greatest enemy.
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
At least we get Tails from this, and he's happy to see Sonic, but Sonic just runs off again.
Yeah, what a
Well,
bastard.
yes, but first Tails is like, Eggman came out of nowhere and kidnapped me. And for a second, Sonic sits there and gets a thinking face, and he's like, I wonder what Eggman is planning. Well, I better just keep running, because he can't figure it out. It's just too much for him.
Well, and in fairness, what the hell is he planning? What's the point? What does kidnapping Tails
Well,
do for him?
if he had stayed behind just a little longer, Krieg would have said, but oh well. I
Well,
mean,
but
that's not his plan, but we don't actually ever really understand what his plan is.
no, we have no
Uh,
idea why he's doing anything in this
for the
game.
most part, it
Yeah.
really just seems like he meant to kidnap Vanilla because, I don't know, he decided that Nintendo was doing better or something, and so he had to mimic their villain.
Oh, he needs Rabbit Wife.
That's why I was gonna make that joke, but I figured I'd leave it up to you.
Yeah, it's weird, but anyway, now we are in the second half of the game, and this is where the cracks start to show in Ice Paradise. By all
Oh
metrics,
yeah.
this stage looks and sounds pretty good.
Yeah, it's a great ice level with I like the city lights in the background.
Yeah, it feels unique compared to like Ice Cap or even like Ice
Yeah.
Mountain from
It reminds me it makes me think of Sonic running through like a ski resort.
makes me think
Yeah,
of
that's
Sonic running through New York when it's in blizzard season.
That too.
either of those. I mean, I'm more partial to the sort of natural, wintry area, so it feels a little lessened by the artificiality, but it's unique, I suppose. The music, though, caught me completely off guard because it's actually a remix of the minigame music from the Tiny Chow Garden for some
It
reason.
is?
It is?
Yes, listen to the two.
I guess I wouldn't have noticed that.
Well, yeah, you didn't play them for hours and hours, but you did, I thought,
Right.
Kevin.
I mean, I did, but it was years ago. I didn't do a lot for these playthroughs.
Yeah, I honestly, there's more to talk about than just looks and sounds here, I think.
Yeah, no, we have Penguinator magnets. It was nice to see those, but
Oh
we
yeah.
got cannons that launch you. We've got weird ass like tubes that you bounce around before they spit you out the top or bottom. I don't really know what's up with those. We have short little wall running sections, which technically those were sometimes in Advance 1, very rarely, but they're more in this level.
Yeah.
Remember those from Advance 1.
But most of all, we have sections of frozen ice and cold ice crusted slides. And these are important because these are the things that throw you directly into bottomless pits.
Yeah, yeah, don't you love it when the level's mechanics guide you in a direction to your doom? No, I didn't like that.
Yeah,
And
no.
this
This
is
is
the
where
stage.
I started feeling I didn't really like this game.
Yeah,
It
Yeah.
gets worse, but this is the start of bottomless pit mania, definitely.
Oh, yes it is.
that better not be the sequel to Sonic Mania.
Yeah.
It's nothing that I couldn't get through without tearing my hair out, but I think I probably did lose a nail or two or something.
Yeah, it's annoying. We're at annoying levels of bottomless pits rather than, snap your GPA in half levels. But
Right.
it does detract from what should be a really fun stage, I think.
Yeah. So this is the start of something I noticed where this game has these enormous bottomless pits. They're super tall.
It really
Yes, more so in the
Um,
next
More so in
zone,
the next
but
stage. I noticed a
but
few in
here,
this
yes.
stage. And so they're so tall that you almost don't realize it until the camera like glitches out, like how it does when you start going too fast in Sonic 3.
Yeah, this is the part where you have
Right.
to start waiting to die if you fall in a pit.
Yeah, that's why save states are great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
Other than that, I don't have anything else to say about it.
Well, we'll definitely have something to say about the boss fight.
boy,
Yeah.
that this boss incorporates one of my favorite mechanics in platformers, platforms that flip themselves at random, seemingly, so that you can just fall off when you totally made the jump.
Yeah.
You have to land on his tail. I don't even know what that is on the mech, but you have to land on it, which will flip you up to hit Eggman, and it does go at seemingly random intervals. I don't know how actual random it is, but it's like, that actually wouldn't be that bad. The real boss
Not.
of this boss fight is the arena, because the ground slopes up and down such that if you jump at the wrong time, and you may not be able to see this coming because you have to accelerate to jump at him, you will jump on a slope, which will shoot you forward or jump you too high so you can't actually land on it properly.
Yes, this makes it a lot worse than it had to be, and it already wasn't great.
Yeah.
The boss is incredibly spam happy with its bombs, especially in phase 2. You're practically hitting the A button the moment you hit the ground. It's ridiculous. And
I think you don't get hit at the very, very, very back of the arena. I'm not even sure that's true, but I'm pretty sure it's true.
and you better hope you don't get hit at all, because it's going to be, well, it's hard to recollect the rings, but it's really quite a bit harder when you try to stay low to the ground. Then it screws up your rhythm, because, like I said, you basically have to jump, 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 jump over and over and over. Don't miss the platform either, then you're in trouble then. So basically you have to do it perfectly or it just doesn't work.
When the hitboxes on the explosions are huge, it is so easy to get hit.
Yeah.
If it dropped, like, little mines that were not any bigger than Sonic, like maybe even the size of a ring, then you could just jump over those and it would just be a little tricky thing. I'm not saying it would be good, but it's like,
It might be better.
it wouldn't feel like bullshit.
Yeah. The spinning of the platforms should be slowed down just like ever so slightly also.
Yeah, or just have it flat the whole time until you hit it. Like, it
Well,
makes
It would
sense.
still be a difficult boss if it was that way.
Right, it would still be difficult, but it wouldn't be feeling like it's bullshit.
Well, no,
Well, 'cause
I was
it makes
saying that
sense.
in support.
Oh,
I was
okay,
saying
yeah.
it wouldn't ruin the fight and make it trivial. So they
Right,
could have
right.
done that.
Yeah, 'cause
just
it's flipping up.
slow it down ever so slightly, because I felt like a lot of the time I was running up to the boss and I would have to stand there and wait a second for the next platform to show up, and then they'd start spinning.
Yeah, because it makes sense to flip it up when you hit it, because then you would just
Sure.
land back on it and hit him again otherwise,
Sure.
Yeah, having it's, ugh. Ugh. And what's hilarious is that everything for these first 4 zones, this is the game in crypto mode. The next stage, Sky Canyon, is the mask off moment for all of this. It was like bordering on like ugh before. Now it's like this stage is completely antagonistic, because if you're not on the right path, you will constantly be thrown into these do or die moments with bottomless pits, demanding that you either, slow down to hit a precise platform or utilize the R button tricks to avoid dying.
Master the tricks.
I literally thought this level was unbeatable with Sonic as a kid because I couldn't.
I'm not surprised.
I couldn't do
think that is probably the level where I had to reload my save states the most.
Yeah, Sky Canyon is something else. As I said, I played Sonic Advance 2 many years after Advance 1, but this game took me back because I felt like I was a kid again that was terrible at video games.
Yeah,
It took me so long. Like, the beginning of the of the music track for the zone is ingrained in my mind because of how many times I had to just restart because I kept dying. It was a time, all right.
This level is everything wrong with, like, Sonic Heroes level design, without the fact that Sonic Heroes, it's not too difficult to recover from an edge in that game, like if you're playing as a flight character or something. But in this game, it has the same deal where it's basically just a big level that is suspended above one giant bottomless pit the entire way through.
Right. I
They took the
felt
name
like
Sky
that.
Canyon literally.
They really did.
Yeah, and as you alluded to, you have to just know exactly where you want to go and not die. The game doesn't, it tries, kind of, I think, to tell you where to go, but so much of the time, it's not that clear. And there are times in the stage where you just have to have a leap of faith off into the distance, hoping that there will be a platform there to catch you. Whereas most of the time when you do that, no, you'll just die because there's nowhere to go but into the bottomless pit. Yeah, that's not good level design. Just making you trial and error the route through the stage. That's why I died over and over. I just had to find the right path. And then you only start with 2 lives, so you trial and error too much, you have to go back all the way to the beginning. Have fun.
Oh
Thank
yeah,
God
another
for
thing
putting
re-releases,
this on an
get rid of lives.
emulator.
Get rid of lives. Get rid of lives. This was the thing, is that,
yeah.
as a kid, I think I was able to get through the first act, and now that I'm saying it, I actually might have gotten through the second as well. But what was important was that I never beat the stage in full, and that was because I kept dying and losing all of my lives, and importantly, if you get a game over in this game, you have to restart from Act 1 of any given stage.
Yeah, that they decided, no, you don't get a checkpoint at Act 2. Back to Act 1. That's your checkpoint.
Just
It
save
makes
after
me,
every level.
I mean, this makes me wonder: is Dimps like? Are they masochists?
I think they were still thinking retro difficulty too hard.
I guess so.
I think that this game just, whoever was designing it just wasn't thinking about how anybody else would play it. Because here's the thing, if you were the person who designed this level, you already know which stuff is coming.
Right.
So,
So,
yeah.
as I said earlier, after I'd played through this stage several times, getting the Chaos Emeralds, it becomes a breeze. It's not that difficult.
So this game is like the
but it just
Matrix
doesn't show you where to
4.
go.
This game is like Matrix 4. It's designed with the impression that only the people who made it are ever going to watch it or play it.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
Don't watch the Matrix 4. It's not very good. So yeah, fuck that stage, and it's a shame because I like the aesthetic and the music is okay. I don't love it, but if they were in a good level, I would appreciate both of them.
Yeah.
The same cannot be said for the boss fight. Oh look, it also has one of the worst boss fights in the game.
I would argue the worst boss fight in the game.
It's up
there
there.
has got to be a special place in hell for the designer of this boss. Like, seriously, there's just so many things wrong with this boss. First of all, let's talk about the most egregious part of it. It's got this big old hand that will just lurch out and slap you. Okay, so far so good. We got that in the final boss of Advance 1. No. There's something very insidious about this. Sometimes it will slap you so hard you ain't coming up from that. Just instant death.
Why?
With rain. Instant death. What the heck?
I have no idea why. It feels like a bug almost. The fact that you lose rings and die at the same time says to me it might be a bug.
I suspect it is, because it's only sometimes.
Yeah,
It's
there's no
very
way to tell
strange.
whether it'll be an infinite kill slap or just a regular one.
So
Yeah.
the problem is you have to basically avoid getting hit by that thing ever. It's just a bonus
Right.
if you screw up and get hit and then don't die.
Yeah, because you can never
When
know.
when I played this boss, I had to play it super safe. Never ever get slapped. So this works against you, of course, due to the design of the boss. A slowly rotating wheel where the weak point is only available sometimes when it's in the correct position. So you're going to be hanging back and waiting when the hand isn't about to lurch out at you. But sometimes when the weak point is there, the hand is ready to lurch out at you. So you just got to wait longer. Or you got to get greedy because you're really impatient because the boss has, like 8 hits, I think?
That's why
In
you
the
turn on
classic
easy
8.
mode.
Yeah, right. Yes,
And-
it's better, but it's still too long, even with
Yeah, it
5
is.
or whatever you get in easy mode.
It is.
And it gets worse than that. It gets worse than that because not only that, like if it were just the cockpit in the hand, that would be a pain in the ass. But it gets
Sure.
worse than that because A, it has a laser rifle mounted on it that has infinite range, which means that if you're hanging back trying to not get hit by the hand, you can still get hit. You can destroy that in a couple hits
Right.
for some
I
reason, and I
think
recommend doing that and then save stating, basically.
I believe that
Yeah.
is exactly what I did on the round where, well, I say the round. I technically did it in one round with a lot of save stating.
Yeah, but we know what you mean.
Yeah,
But worse than that, is that even then, if it were the laser, the hand, and the cockpit, that would still be bad. It can get worse than that, because the cockpit has a shield on the left
Yes.
side that you
Oh!
can bounce off
On
of.
the cockpit. What the
that's why
heck?
it kept bouncing off.
You can just do everything correctly, and the game can be like, nah, it did not ring true. You missed.
Oh my
Good
god,
job.
I could not figure out why it kept bouncing off the left side of it.
Yeah, it's that little yellow bar that apparently you can't pass through. You have to hit, you
And of
basically have to go
course-
behind it, and that's really dangerous because that's where the hand is.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. This boss is telling you, don't touch me, or I'll touch you and you'll die, which is exactly what you have to do to beat it. So
Right.
it's nerve-wracking. You have to go into the danger zone. It's like a game of chicken, really, is what this boss is.
Yeah, it kind of is.
Ugh.
And yes, it's still an infinite runner, by the way, too. So all the
Obviously,
variation of that still applies.
Obviously.
So yeah, I would safely put this as the worst boss in the game.
It's so bad that three of my notes about my only three notes about the boss are, wow, holy fuck, that boss was bad, fuck that boss, and that might have been the worst boss so far.
Yep.
Well, this is also a unique boss because it is the only boss in the game that goes out of its way to also damage the storytelling.
Yeah, we skipped over that detail because you kind of forget about it when you're dying over and over. But yes, there's something odd going on here. It's not Eggman. No, knock knock. It's Knuckles who's piloting this robot.
Yes, if you're playing as Sonic, this boss, for some reason, is Knuckles, who
Yeah.
has, and I quote, been tricked by Eggman again. Why? How? For what reason? Who knows? Game never explains anything.
I do enjoy the cutscene, though. Sonic is just like, really, Knuckles, you've been tricked again, and Knuckles just doesn't really respond.
He's like, yeah, shut up.
He's like,
But
shut
yeah,
up, and he's like
Fuck off,
crying.
Sonic. that was funny. But why can we just stop tricking Knuckles? Like,
What-
the poor guy.
It's a
What
joke
brought
at
us
this
to
point.
It really is. I said this in Adventure, and I will say this again. SEGA wants to. They're trying to characterize Knuckles just as being naive and easily tricked because he's naive, but it just makes him look like a fucking idiot.
Well, and it's that, like, this so easily could have been fixed. If you said that Eggman trapped Knuckles in there and
Yes.
forced him to pilot it, that's it, that's the whole thing.
That's what I was expecting it to be. Since Tails was trapped, so was Cream. Why not Knuckles? But
You could-
no.
You could even say that, like, maybe that cockpit is a two-way mirror, so Knuckles doesn't even know what he's doing, and by punching the walls to try and get out, that's what's making it attack or something. I don't know.
You know what? That works just fine for an explanation for an Eggman machine.
But they don't do that. They have Eggman somehow nebulously convince Knuckles. He doesn't have the Master Emerald, you know? He
No.
didn't steal that in this game. You may as well have just made it Mecha Knuckles again.
That would have honestly made more sense.
That would have been better
had to
as
give
long
you
as
a
I
reason.
wasn't running.
They had to give you a reason, though, to unlock Knuckles. Or why this unlocks Knuckles.
And he couldn't just be kidnapped like the rest, obviously.
Because he's an idiot, apparently.
Apparently. Yeah, this is Knuckles at his lowest, unfortunately.
So far.
So far.
This is Knuckles at his most inscrutable, at least, I guess, is what I'd say. There are moments of dumbassery later, but this is the most inexplicable one.
Well, it's not a story-heavy game, so it can't be that egregious, but
Right.
it's
Then
strange.
don't do the stupid thing. Anyway, fuck Sky Canyon. That is
Yeah,
our
fuck
takeaway from
Sky
all this.
Canyon.
The designers realized they'd done something wrong, and then they decided, all right, let's go back to the drawing board. How can we save this entire game in a single zone? I know. We'll give it the raddest aesthetic you've ever seen. Welcome to Techno Base.
Techno Base is really cool.
Love this design.
Techno Base is a really cool
It is.
design.
Top tier. So slick.
It,
First of all-
it really is.
First of all, you've got this super rad circuit-themed background that cycles between black and then greens and then reds and then this surreal, beautiful, wavy purple pattern, which is like the most complex background I've ever seen. I haven't seen one, with that many different sort of phases. It's so cool. And then in the stage itself, you've got all, of course, these multicolored lights and these walls made of patterned hexagons that flash in and out. And I really appreciate, they've done this a little bit in the other zones, but it feels more fitting here how they've redone the sort of recurring gimmicks. So, the springs are now metal sci-fi looking, and the spikes are really rad holograms, and the rails are like lasers, and you've got wire mesh balloons. So that's great. Make it feel different, even though obviously those are just the same tried and true gimmicks. It does have unique gimmicks too, of course. And I like the badniks here because I talked about in Advance 1 with Cosmic Angel how there was this weird sort of geometric badnik. We get more geometric badniks here that really fit with the environment. You got like these star ones and these weird they're like weird metal bats that phase in and out in an effect that resembles TV
those guys.
static. So it's just a surreal work of art, honestly. I can't do it justice with words alone. Just look at the screen, dear viewer, and it speaks for itself.
Hopefully it's on screen right now. I'll try to put it there. Recording gets weird for these games, but yeah, no, Technobase is pretty fun. It's our first computer-themed level in these games, and I can think of 2 more, not counting like Frontier Cyberspace. And it has less trick or die moments. It has less pits, though it still has a fair amount.
It has a decent amount, but it's not like egregious.
Yes,
though I will admit, this zone has a lot of moments with springs that go up to a very tall platform that have a spike almost right on the edge.
Yeah, it's easy for knockback to take over in this level was the thing that I noticed.
That's the biggest problem, but it's not bad enough to damper how much I enjoyed this level. Mostly because of the aesthetic, I'll admit, but it was still really cool.
There's no shame in that. The level design is not terrible, and so the god tier aesthetic automatically makes it very enjoyable. This saves the game, kind of. I mean, it's probably not worth playing the game, but you better believe I come back to play Technobase sometimes because it's just that good.
I can understand that. I wouldn't say it makes the game overall good.
They put the mask back on.
They do. It's definitely much more enjoyable after 2, as I put it in my own notes, ass-blasting stages.
Yeah.
My point is, I think the world would be better without, the other terrible games, 3D Blast, Sonic 2 on the Game Gear, but I would be sad if we had not gotten Advance 2 because we would not get Technobase.
I
think 3D Blast has artistic value, even if it's not very fun. But I see what you're saying, definitely.
I'm exaggerating, but I'm saying I don't care to ever revisit those games. But there's one part that I very much would like to revisit.
Yeah, this stage definitely feels much more like the first half of the game, where it's, there might be an annoyance here or there, but it's mostly fun. I don't know if I
touch on the music too.
Oh yeah,
it's kind of unique for this game at least. I think.
don't remember the music all that well.
It's uniquely calm actually for Act 1. There's a faster paced version for Act 2 that feels more in line with what you would expect. But I think this is like the calmest and coolest stage theme in this game, unless I'm forgetting something.
Yeah, it's low key.
It's very low key, and you get little electronic sounds, little beeps and whirs. It fits.
I'll take your words on that because I do not remember the soundtrack for this zone.
Yeah, so pretty okay. I don't know if I'd say the same about the boss, but it is definitely better than Sky Canyons, even though I still don't like it.
It wasn't great.
The boss is a capsule suspended on a rail, surrounded by multiple platforms which you have to climb to hit it, which can either, one set spins, the other sprouts spikes if you're standing on it, and you can only hit it from directly on top, which is, again, kind of annoying. On the face of it, this wouldn't be that bad, but for some fucking reason, they had the audacity to have the capsule in the middle shoot big, slow-moving projectiles in any direction in groups of 3, which are unbearable to try and actually dodge and make me want to snap my controller in half. Ugh.
I never much thought about the projectiles, like when I think about how terrible the boss is. But you're right; it's kind of like the straw that breaks the camel's back on top of everything else. I mean, I hate platforms that randomly become not platforms. That's always going to be the thing that infuriates the most in any boss that includes that,
Yeah.
or any stage for that matter. But like at this point, I'm kind of used to how terrible the bosses are. It's still a pretty bad boss, but like I don't have paragraphs to yell at the screen about it this time.
Yeah,
Fair enough.
it's really just that I would have these repeated instances of I'm about to land on top of him, but he shoots a projectile directly into me as I do that, and that just destroys me.
No, that's fair.
But yeah, I don't have much more breath to waste on it. So, but we have at least reached the final proper stage, Egg Utopia, and I'm realizing that this game has like kind of almost a bell curve of annoyance, where Sky Canyon is right in the middle, and the stages next to it are like not as bad. And we can debate. I enjoy Egg Utopia more than the previous one. That may not be the case for you guys, but it's definitely not as bad as Sky Canyon or what came before.
It's not as bad, but I don't think it's as good as Techno Base.
Yeah,
I
that's
I
fair.
would say it's nowhere close, but
Yeah.
that's just me.
Also, I think you run into the level gimmick pretty quickly, and
It's gravity.
yeah, my first thought was, oh fuck, it's Crazy Gadget again.
Yeah,
Kind of.
I mean it's it's
It's
Death
not
Egg is what it
near,
is, but
yeah, it's nowhere near as annoying as Crazy Gadget was.
Yeah, I would certainly say it's nowhere close to Sky Canyon. I agree with you there.
No, it is
But
not.
it still is fairly pit crazy. And yeah, the gravity
It is, yeah. And the
is
gravity
annoying,
is.
but I mean, it's got kind of that climactic feel to it. The music really helps. It's very grand feeling.
it's the
And
music
Yeah,
combined with the scenic shot of the Earth in the background, because that was one thing that
yes.
like Advance kind of did
that
it
is cool.
in X Zone, but it didn't in Egg Rocket or Cosmic Angel. And this helps sell the space platform better. Oh, this is Nebula
Yes.
Space Platform number 3, by the way.
I'm very partial to base stations and cool shots. That is definitely nice. And we kind of skipped over the name, but it's an interesting name, Egg Utopia. I guess is that what he calls the not Death Egg?
I guess.
It's interesting that that like this is his paradise. And I guess this was his plan, just building another Death Egg, but they don't build it up at
We're heading
all.
to the
It
Egg
just kind of
Promised Land.
happens. But now they actually explain the space platform as you talked about it.
Right.
Because it's really just kind of like a repeat of Sonic 3.
Yeah, I mean that's what the gravity platforming is. I'm gonna be honest. Maybe this was just dumb luck. I didn't actually run into that many pits in this stage. That might be why I like it better. If you guys had different experiences, then
I
I'm not
think
going
I
to
ran
deny that.
into a few, but I don't think I hit that many.
So it's like maybe better than Ice Paradise.
Oh, it's
Uh
100.
oh,
It's
um
definitely. It's better than Ice Paradise or Sky Canyon,
Well, we
definitely.
knew
easily
Sky
Sky
Canyon was
Canyon.
worst. Yeah.
Yeah, I would rank it higher than Ice Paradise because I think gameplay wise is pretty equivalent, but the
I
the the
I'd
visuals
say,
and feel
yeah.
elevate it. The
Hmm.
pits that got me the most were there are these parts where you stand on like a disc that slides down this huge stretch and then launches you up, and then you have like 2 seconds to react to a platform or grinding rail you have to jump on, and if you miss it, the disc just falls into the depths and you die.
Yeah.
Oh
Those
yeah.
were the pits that got me the most.
Well, and they've changed the way there's way more rails in this game for one thing, but the way they've changed them is that I think you always have to land on the horizontal part of a rail,
Oh,
and
that explains why I
Yes,
couldn't get them to work half of the
yes.
time. I was gonna
Um,
point out actually that the rails felt really glitchy.
that's the reason. I'm gonna be honest.
Interesting.
I said my piece about rails in Sonic Adventure 2. I have no place in 2D. There's no reason to have them here. They don't serve any purpose. They're just
I
not much
annoying.
of one.
I don't disagree. I will always love grind rails because I think they look cool.
I mean,
But
I guess
you're not wrong.
they just don't add anything valuable except, oh, I guess I missed that. I'm dead now. Is that valuable?
Yeah,
Not
seeing
really.
seeing a rail and then clipping through the diagonal part of it and feeling like you got cheated does suck. What sucks even more, though, is the boss of Egg Utopia. This frog-legged motherfucker that skates on the ceiling and floor and launches missile barrages, which you cannot dodge unless you're on the far right side of the screen.
Okay, I'm glad I wasn't just being stupid.
I don't know if you two are aware of this. I suspect at least Devin is, but Bruce, you might have missed it because I certainly missed it when I first played this boss. I thought this was just like the biggest waste of time ever because I just kind of ran and I kept running and I kept running and the boss
I
kept
know where the
running and I
scout.
kept running
Yeah.
and I was like, huh, this is weird. And then eventually the boss decided to just come down and then I hit it and then it kind of died. But I was like, wow, there was a whole lot of it just bombing. I don't know what you're supposed to do. And it felt kind of inconsistent when it decided to come down to me. I was like, you have to hang back maybe to bait it over, but then you're going to get bombed. And so I kind of beat it and then I was confused. And then later I was looking online when I was looking for like tips about collecting the special rings. Like, hey, did you know in the Utopia boss, if you hit up, it just throws you on the ceiling.
Yeah, so I
Really?
figured that out.
Really?
I figured that out by accident. I would not have figured that out if I hadn't have accidentally hit up.
Yeah, what the heck? Like,
And
that might not be in the manual, actually.
Right.
Here's the amazing thing, too, is that I didn't know that. So Bruce got a probably not good, but better experience with this boss than I did. I didn't realize that till after I beat it as well.
Oh, no, I still had an awful experience with this boss.
No, it still sucks, but
Yeah, no, I had a dog shit experience with this boss. You guys said the Sky Canyon boss was probably the worst. I think this was the worst.
If you don't know about the gravity switching, I can see your case. But
you still need extreme precision no matter what.
Right. That was my problem, is the extreme precision required for this boss, because without that, this boss ends up just becoming you have to get hit, iframe through its legs, and hit it in the bottom.
can do that. You can iframe through a lot of Sonic bosses. Well, not quite in this game, because a lot of the bosses have armor around their weak spots.
Yeah.
But that's like a classic concept, is my point. But I never had a problem with that. Honestly, I would say this is one of the better bosses because it's quite easy for me to just fly up, hit it, and then it's like, oh, better run. And then I fly down, hit it. It's like, oh, better run. And then I fly up and hit it, and it doesn't even get a chance to hit me.
Okay, he's crazy. Bruce, get the
hard at
shovel.
all.
I'll call the doctor. You can do the hard work.
No, I get what you're saying, though, Lauren. And
No, I don't understand. I excuse me. I do understand what you're saying.
I think that if you practice and have a chance to practice, it's this dumb ticking time bomb effect with the lives. I think that this would be so much less frustrating if you weren't feeling yourself inching closer and closer to having to repeat the entire stage each time.
That's no fun. But I may be slightly biased because we haven't talked at all. But something I always remember about this boss is its music, because it is just like the most insanely fast-paced, hyped boss music I've ever heard. I'm revved up when I hear this, and the pinch mode somehow goes even harder. It's ridiculous.
No, they want it to feel climactic, and I do like that all of the advanced games do this, where the final stage boss has a different theme all to itself. But
Yeah.
just wish I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I guess I can see your points for sure, and I mean, it would still be a lot better if you weren't. Well, if it wasn't off the cuff of the rest of this game, and I still don't like it being an infinite runner. That's for sure. It probably. I'm trying to think. If this was in a stationary arena, I think this could probably work better. Like you probably wouldn't you wouldn't have to tweak this boss as much as the other bosses. I think you could probably just put it in a stationary arena.
I do agree with that. If we're in a stationary arena, I would enjoy it a lot more.
Yeah, it wouldn't be that bad, because you just have so much more control. Well, if nothing else, we are at least finally here entering Endgame at the appropriately named XX.
They really were like, how did Advance end? Let's do it, but twice. XX.
It's weird, because the previous game is X Zone. This is not XX Zone. This is just XX.
Oh, it's just XX.
No, you're right. That's actually true.
How pornographic is Sonic Advance 3 gonna get when it's XXX?
Oh no.
It doesn't.
That's what I thought, but unfortunately, it doesn't.
Unfortunately?
It'd be hilarious.
Okay, it would be really funny, definitely. But nobody is laughing at the actual contents of this stage, which begins with, oh god, oh fucking Christ, it's a boss rush, which I forgot about when we were talking about Advance 1 until you brought it up, and I was like, oh right, that does happen, doesn't it?
Yeah, I will never forget this. Somebody really thought, I know, let's make the player fight every single boss from the game in a row before the final boss in
In
a
the game
single
with the worst
stage.
bosses,
In the
some of the
game with the
worst
worst
bosses.
bosses.
Yeah.
And nobody slapped them in the face and told them, no, don't do that. This is both incredibly lazy design and incredibly infuriating to play through, which is a crazy combination. You don't see that a lot. Yeah, at least in Advance, the boss rush was all original. Well, kind of. Original for that game bosses, anyway. And it
Yeah.
wasn't that bad. But here, first, let me clarify, by the way. I made a comment. Maybe you cut it out because it was wrong or made a correction. But you do have checkpoints between the bosses. I just forgot wrong. But in my defense, you only get 2 lives. And so I basically thought there were no checkpoints between bosses because it only takes 2 deaths and you're back at the beginning. But you do actually get checkpoints. They weren't that much of idiots designing this game. But it's still a terrible time nonetheless. What the heck?
I mean, yeah, obviously you have the experience, and they do take less hits, but if you're going to do that, then that just makes it you feel how needless it is. Like, it's like every classic Mega Man game ends with a boss rush. But the difference with that is that it shows you how far you've come, because you've accrued all of the boss weaknesses over the game.
Right. Well, also, those are generally fun bosses.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't help that every boss in this game is terrible.
Yeah.
And worst of all this is that the final boss is not in any sort of separated environment, which, like Lauren says, means that if you die to the final boss, which you need to be able to practice at because it's hectic, if you get a game over, then you have to go through all that shit again to get to it, and it's tedious.
It's terrible. This boss rush is actually where I got such hatred for the wheel boss from Sky Canyon, because I had to fight it over and over, and it kept ending my Let's Play over and over. Be like, no, you don't get to go practice against the final boss. I'm going to slap you to death.
When it's like, the final boss ain't easy, either.
Credit where credit is due. Somebody had some restraint and said, no, the final boss shall not be an infinite runner. And what a blessing that aspect is.
Instead, it's just a giant, cramped room full of garbage.
This is where I admit I was a bad gamer. I could not finish this final boss. I could not figure it out. Which feels dumb because I looked it up before we recorded. It is so easy. Like, I was able to just destroy the hands. I didn't realize you had to attack the head.
So what it is that there's...
I technically didn't finish this game.
There's a number of different attacks. So it has spikes on the ceiling, and platforms that if you stand on them can try to push you into the ceiling. But there's this little thing where when the platforms start to rise up, they do this, like, chunk out of the ground that can knock you up and...
Yes.
Or that can knock you into the air.
Right.
And that can totally disrupt, whatever rhythm you have going.
Yes.
And it has hands that it launches at you that are not really that hard. You can destroy them in a few hits each.
No, they're not hard. No,
my recommendation is to, savor as many rings as possible. Obviously, always try to hang on to one ring, which you can actually do in this fight because it's not a running boss.
Yes, you can. That is nice.
And then once you destroy the hands, it's like knowing when to jump on and off the platforms is just a matter of paying attention. And the only thing you have to worry about from then on out is the big eye laser that it does that can never hit you on the ground.
Yeah, this boss is strange. It's diverse from the others for the reasons we already mentioned. But yeah, it's strange also because a final boss is usually supposed to be, frantic and difficult. And this can get you if you're not careful or you just don't know how it works because you don't get very many opportunities to try against it. But yeah, the hands are the biggest threat, and you can just destroy them in a few hits, and then the boss is pretty much completely crippled, which is bizarre. You destroy the hands, you can literally stand between the platforms until the end of time. The boss cannot hit you. It's strange. After that point, just don't get greedy, and you've already won. What kind of design for a final boss is that?
It is a weird design, and it just makes me also feel kind of bad that I couldn't figure it out.
I don't blame you. You would have been exhausted at this point in the game.
Yeah, that's also why I didn't go back and finish it, because I was at the point where it's like, I don't really want to play this game anymore.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
I think what bothers me about this boss is that it's a giant robot, but the only parts that move are its hands, and the arena does most of the work.
Yeah, the arena is the real threat.
It really is.
So yeah, better in some ways, still not a good boss, I would say.
No, I would
No.
not say it's a good boss, but I was legitimately surprised to find a non-infinite runner boss, so that's worth something, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, we're not quite at the end of the game because,
Yeah.
I did go and get Chaos Emeralds, and by that I mean I downloaded a fucking save file. Um, and the true final boss cutscene is weird, right? Everybody is back in Leaf Forest, and Eggman's new mech, which can turn invisible but only in cutscenes for some reason, sucks up and kidnaps Cream's mom, Vanilla, making one of her only 2 appearances in any video game here. What the hell is going on with all this? Again, like, what does he want her for? And also, did she get rescued and then brought home? I don't think she's in Cream's ending, so what happened? Did he kidnap her twice?
That must be what's it. They must have rescued her from the egg Utopia off screen, puzzlingly. And then Eggman was like, "Oh, you beat my statue. Okay, well now let me pull out my big old worm thing, kind of like the egg viper, I guess. But this time it can fly through space and turn invisible, and I shall use this to suck up a bunch of animals and recapture Vanilla. Ah, now come and stop me, Sonic. Ha ha ha." That was his plan. That was what he's doing. It almost seems like it's an accident the second time, because he also sucks up a bunch of the other animals. It's just recharging, actually. He's just like he's like, Sonic beat me up. Darn. Well, okay, I'll pull out my actually really powerful machine. I'm running low on batteries. Gotta go suck up some animals. They actually sucks up Vanilla. And then Sonic's like, "Hey, how dare you?" And he was like, "Ah, shoot. I was just having fun flying through space. Leave me alone." No, see, I won't turn invisible as a show of I don't want to fight you. And the next Sonic's like, "No, I will fight you. Die."
I will say I do like the transformation cutscene here. The music and the switch to like big supersonic pixel art is it does set the mood pretty well.
I guess.
I don't know. I just think that like compared to like Advance 1, which wasn't that elaborate, I don't know.
I can't get excited for any of the supersonic fights in these advanced games because they're always coming off the cusp of absolute tedium that is collecting the Chaos Emeralds. And I think it is fair to see it from that light because that's the way they intended you to do it. They intended you to have fun or not have fun, as it happens, playing through this game, and then just stop. No, you don't get to do the final boss. You have to go do the tedium and just collect the Chaos Emerald. And then you can come back and you can play the game just a little bit. And so I'm not getting hyped. I'm like, okay, there was a supersonic fight. Great, cool.
Well, it's slowly but surely gonna get better at least. But yeah, so our final our next Doomsday Zone ripoff is True Area 53,
Real.
which is just some place in space. I don't get it.
And
What
I
kind of name is
didn't play
that?
it again.
It's like it seems like it's an Area 51 joke, right? But it's not
Must
Area
be.
52 and it's Area 53, but it's also True Area 53. What's the
Yeah.
not true Area 53?
I feel like there's lore here
Oh.
that we're missing out on. That's literally what it feels like. But this game has no story other than the little bits and pieces that we talked about, so I don't understand what it could mean.
And this is even more Doomsday Zone than the moon, because you actually have rings just flying by that you can collect instead of having to get capsules for it, which thank God.
Yes, that is an improvement, but not a very fun fight, in my opinion. I don't like. It never feels good when you have to. It's this trope with boss battles in video games. I'm not saying it's always bad, but when you're just like waiting around, like I can't do anything. The boss used its one attack that allows me to hit it. Now I can attack it. In this case, it fired off missiles, and now I can try to deflect them. Oh shoot, I missed him. Better wait for it to fire off more missiles now. It's no good. Although I guess it's better than the Doomsday Zone actually, because those you have to awkwardly redirect, which I was even less of a fan of. So that's worth something. But
But the fact that you have
I
to
don't
wait
like it
can
as
make
much
it
as
annoying.
like the Advance One supersonic fight, which still wasn't that great. fight-wise. I mean, it's nice to have ring.
I think I think just the ring thing makes it easier enough that I appreciate this one more, but I'm still not calling either of them good.
I will say that on the theming department, the music has this interesting, otherworldly, almost alien vibe to it. It's got a good build up to it. I like that. And design wise, this fight can look pretty cool actually, as
Yeah.
it's shooting off a whole bunch of little energy orbs, and it's got lasers, and the missiles are blowing up and stuff. It's pretty spectacular at parts.
Yeah. So, that's it. That's the last thing that you do when playing the game. And I really do wonder, like, what is the first supersonic boss gonna be that we unanimously like across all of us? I have no idea.
Will there even be one?
I think there will
Hmm.
be, because if nothing else, we're all gonna like Frontiers. Those bosses slap.
Yeah, those are fun bosses.
I've yet to play them. We'll see.
I would be
Yeah,
very surprised if you hated them, but I don't know.
I don't know that we've actually touched on this directly before. I'm trying to think about if we have or not. But the whole concept of dedicated supersonic boss battles is a weird choice. A lot of games do this, and I'm puzzled by it. Where for the final challenge of the game, they just completely change the way the game plays. It's just
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah, that is definitely that is a pet peeve of mine actually, when Supersonic controls or just has entirely different goals from normal Sonic. So we will definitely talk about examples of when they do and don't do that. And when they don't, it's almost always a better boss. So it's like, I don't know why you put that much effort in, or less
Yeah.
effort. I don't know what it takes, honestly. Um,
There are some nice exclusive ending images for beating the final boss. One of which when Tails just loses a pupil for some reason.
oh, I'll have to show that one. That's great. I do find the final cutscene to be kind of funny because it has this, tense atmosphere as Sonic and Vanilla are falling down from space, and Sonic's desperately trying to fall fast enough to catch Vanilla's hand, and he finally grabs it, and it's like, wait, what does that change? You're still falling.
Can't Supersonic fly? And
He's
like,
not super.
He loses his super
oh, okay. I didn't watch the full fight, the
because
full
it's
super fight.
drama.
Yeah, 'cause they're
Well, that's stupid.
I thought in the moment, it's like it kind of feels like, oh, we're both about to fall to our deaths. Here, I'll do the least I can do, and at least shield you, even though it's not going to save you. I thought it
Sonic
was
is
like a
preparing
lot,
to die with this woman in his arms.
almost what it seems like.
This woman he's never met, as far
I
as I know.
assume that Tails was going to swoop in and save him, like he always does. But no, then he just falls to the ground. He's fine. Okay.
Vanilla takes fall damage, but Sonic doesn't.
Yes. So.
I mean, that's true. He doesn't.
Yes, but yes, the ending images to this game are good. Better than the first game, I'd say, just because there's a lot more of them. It's still nice pixel art, and everybody is formally introduced to Cream and her mom, and Cream is going to be considered a sub main cast member for the next couple games, and it's funny because she overshadows Amy in many respects in that, but then in a few years, Amy will take back her spot, and Cream will fall into complete obscurity.
Which is a shame, because Cream is adorable.
Oh,
She is. I like her. I I like her when she doesn't have a voice to annoy me with. Which, hey, Sonic Heroes next week. But so that's the end of Sonic Advance 2, and this game is a supremely mixed bag for me. It appeals to me in a lot of ways. I love the way it looks and sounds. I love the intense speeds you get up to. I love that Amy is playable when you unlock her. I like the way that she plays if they gave you to her normally. But between the bosses, the level design of specifically Sky Canyon, I'm wondering, like, if they released this game without Sky Canyon, would we even have said that much? And I am thinking we may not have. I think Sky Canyon existing in the form that it does exaggerates the flaws of other stages that we would have been just like, yeah, that's a little annoying, and then just kept moving.
I think
it's possible.
to an extent that's not
the
wrong.
thing is, I definitely still would have ranted as much about the bosses.
Yeah, no, the bosses I think are the other big issue.
Yeah, no, I still don't like the bosses.
I think they exaggerate their own issues.
Yeah. It's a shame because there's a lot of value here, but because of those things, it just makes me not want to touch it very much. It's like I replay this game once every several years, but only when I'm replaying 1 and 3 alongside it, and it's always my least
Right.
favorite of the bunch.
Right. You know, I thought I was going to be disappointed, but I ended up being kind of, is excited the right word? To finally have a game to replace 3D Ass Blast as my least favorite game so far.
Well,
So, fuck you, Advance 2. Also, fuck you, Advance 2. You can go to hell. I'll probably never play you again.
I
yeah,
think, like with
well,
the first game, an updated re-release could make so many things here work better by adding some floors and making the bosses less insufferable.
Yeah.
It's like, the running boss idea is always going to probably be a bad idea, but if you can at least paste so many bandages over it that it's like playing Big the Cat with the just grab Froggy with your hands mod, then it's like, at least
Right.
you won't actively offend me.
oh, so you're
Yeah.
saying the solution is give everyone a pet chow?
Sure.
I mean, I
Okay.
guess, yeah. That would work.
I
Yeah.
suppose. Sounds like
That's...
a good ROM hack.
That's the way the chaos crumbles, I guess. Actually, Advance 2 is getting a decompilation project that's about 70% of the way through, so we will be able to see that at some point, I suppose.
Well, that
I
might be
mean,
nice. Seeing a version of this game that is actually enjoyable overall.
They've done
I don't know.
wonders for a lot of games. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. As I said, it's a very distinctive game. That's for sure. Like, would it be Advanced 2 if you altered it? I don't know.
That's
I
okay.
think
I'm
that's
okay
what
with
the
it not
I
being
think that's what
Advance 2.
the no. I'm just saying that's what the Sonic series is all about. It's all full of uniquely terrible, sometimes uniquely good, sometimes just kind of mediocre games. It's got all the ranges of different games, and I appreciate being able to talk about how I love and how I hate different things about these games. So similar, I guess, if this is kind of what you're getting at, Bruce, it was fun to talk about. But yes, I too will never revisit this game except for Technobase.
I might revisit it if there is some kind of if when the decompilation is done and someone makes like a mod for a PC port that fixes the issues. But I think the problem with doing that is that really Sonic Advance 2, or is that just someone's interpretation of of what Sonic Advance 2 should be?
Listen, if somebody gives it a new name for their mod, you say, this mod is good.
Sure.
Whether the game
Yeah.
itself is, doesn't matter. As long as you're not, giving credit to Sonic Team for things they didn't do.
I guess.
But yeah, so that is it. So, next time on Deep Dive Zone, we have another potentially polarizing Sonic game, Sonic Heroes, the next big 3D Sonic game, except the structure of that game is stupid, so we all just split it into 4 that we can each play. So we are going to do it all in one episode next time. It might be like 3 hours long. I hope not, but it might be. And with all that said, we are done for tonight. Thank you all so much for suffering alongside us. If you like this video, feel free to share, comment, like, and subscribe. And if you have any questions, comments, or feedback, you can reach us at any of the places shown on screen. We will see you next Sunday for another episode. Have a great night, and take care.